Hey guys, good afternoon. It's a beautiful September day here in Virginia. Wanted to talk about how to set goals and become a more proficient shooter as efficiently as possible. Whether your shooting is defensive based, carrying on an everyday basis, or you just want to protect your home and your loved ones, or if you're looking to get into the competition side of things, the benefits of dry fire can't be overstated. You can do it anywhere and just about any time that you have free. What I would do is I would let the dogs out, and I would take that 15 or 20 minutes while they were running around doing their thing, and I would do some dry fire. I hung paper plates in the trees, and I used them as my targets, and I got some training in. Dry fire shouldn't take a whole bunch of time. There's only so much time that the average human can focus on one task, especially in today's internet age. The average person, about 10 minutes a day, able to stay on task and maintain focus on the things that really matter. The focus of each individual dry fire session will dictate what exactly you need. But the obvious things are a gun, a timer. When it comes to a timer, you don't need anything too fancy, but what'll really help you out, one that has a par time, which I think most of them do. Usually some magazines, empty of course, or if you're very lucky, you can get a hold of some of these dummy rounds. Now I have these in my shooting bag thanks to work, but they're kind of expensive, but I think they're worth the investment. So obviously I can't talk about everybody's exact methods when it comes to dry fire, but what I can do is tell you what I've been doing, and it seems to help me out. So depending on individual mindset and your shooting goals, obviously methodology and nuance of each session will vary greatly. So when it comes to dry fire training, the first thing to keep in mind is safety. The first thing you want to do is remove all live ammunition and any magazines that have live ammunition from your dry fire area. 4 firearm safety rules are always in play, whether you're live fire, dry fire, or whatever situation. So I keep this book in my shooting bag. As far as I'm concerned, it's probably the most prolific shooting manual that's ever been written by Ben Stoger and Joel Park, two superhuman shooters that have collaborated to make this excellent training manual. It goes through dry fire training and live fire training. And if you're able to just maintain focus and stick to this book, I guarantee you will become a better shooter. But a man cannot live on bread alone. For variety's sake, sometimes I go outside of this holy book and practice my own methods. So in this example of what a dry fire session might look like for me, I'm going to use this little dry fire area I have set up out here. Safety rules. I already know there's nothing that I can't replace inside of this shed, and I've already cleared out my weapon, and I have no live ammunition near me. I have 5 targets set up, but I'm only going to use one right now. The current goal I'm working on is being able to fire 5 rounds from the holster into the A zone from 15 yards under 2.5 seconds. I'm not quite there yet. I get it every once in a while, but I want to be able to do it consistently and cold fire. Figure out what your goal is, 15 yards, 2.5 seconds from the holster, and figure out how to get there. Well, let's break it down into its smallest pieces. First of all, I want to come out of the holster. So for this goal, I'm going to really work on my presentation. I want to be able to come out of my holster quickly and efficiently, build a good solid master grip, and present right between my eye and the target. So I'll probably start off a little slowly and over time build up my speed in my presentation till I feel like I'm coming apart. So for this session, let's say I have 10 minutes. I'll spend 2 full minutes just drawing and presenting at that center target, and I'm going to make sure that I come out of my holster correctly. I build my index points. I press out with my master grip. My sight comes up between my dominant eye and the target, and the sight lands there. Start off with just pure presentation. Then I move into presentation with the trigger press. Successful repetitions at that. Move back, or I'll implement the timer to see where I'm really at. Set a par time for the timer. You'll get 1 beep for when you're supposed to begin whatever action you're doing, and you get a second beep telling you that you should be done by then. So at first, I'm going to set my par time for 2 seconds. I feel like this is a very comfortable area where I should be able to draw my pistol, present it, achieve all my goals, including having the sight stop between my eye and the target, and having a master grip. And that'll look something like this. Now with a trigger press. I had a good presentation, I had a good grip, my sight didn't move when I pressed the trigger, and I did all that before the beep went off. So after a few successful repetitions, I would actually bring my par time down where I thought I was at the draw I needed. I know from experience that I have about 0.20 splits to get inside the A zone of 15 yards, give or take. So that means for 5 rounds, that would take 1 whole second. So I know that my first round has to go off at about 1.5 seconds. And that's what I would shoot for with this dry fire session. It's something that I'm not quite able to achieve every single time quite yet. So I know shooting for that 1.5 draw is going to make me a little bit uncomfortable. But with some good repetitions, I'll get more and more comfortable at working at that speed. And that's the whole point of this dry fire session. I'm not wasting rounds. I'm just trying to see if my goal is achievable. Let's see if I can get the 1.5. After a couple good presentations like that, I'll add in the trigger press and a follow through to make sure that I'm actually hitting the target that I'm aiming at. When you start to get uncomfortable, it's best to be highly critical and analytical of yourself. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. I know that I was within the 1.5 second par time, but when I presented, I was a little high right of the target. What I would do is try it again until I'm consistently presenting to the target in that time, pressing the trigger, following through, my grip is good, and I'm under the par time. So after a couple successful repetitions, what I would do now is push back to the distance, which I'm supposed to be practicing. After a few dry fire practices, consistently being able to achieve that 1.5 second draw at distance, being on target and having that master grip, I know that it's realistic for me to achieve my goal of 2.5 seconds from the holster at 15 yards. It's very hard to emulate recoil or what the gun's going to do in your hands. But what you can do is be hypercritical of your grip after you've taken that shot and really see if it's starting to break down or not. So the goal here in dry fire is to push past what you're trying to achieve. That way, when you're going to perform the task in live fire, you should be successful. For demonstration purposes, I now set my par time for 1.25 seconds. Now I know this is right on the edge of what I can do 100% efficacy. Let's see if I'm able to achieve it today or not. Front sight bobbled around a little bit, but overall successful. Let's try again. Bad grip. That felt pretty good. All right, 2 in a row. Not too bad. But you can see by my initial mistakes that I'm not quite comfortable at that 1.25. But I know my limitations, and so should you. So the fateful day has arrived. You're out at the range, you've scheduled some time, you've paid your dues, you've got an allotment, 50 rounds for the day. How would I do it? The first thing I'm going to do is get some positive reinforcement. I'm going to start off with the same exact things that I was training for in dry fire, with my goal in mind, in the back of my mind. And I'm probably going to use about 10 of those rounds just to confirm that I'm able to do this at a closer distance. Let's start off at 5 yards, see what my time looks like. I want no doubt that all 5 rounds are going in that A box for my first 5 rounds. Obviously, this is cold fire, so I want to get reacclimated to my gun, feel comfortable, and start off with a positive mindset for this training session. All right, so I know from the experience of diligently practicing my live fire that I should be able to get down to a 1.5 draw. I got a 1.76 that time, which we know because of math isn't fast enough, but that's not too bad for coming cold out of the holster, so I'll take it for now. Also, I had 0.53 splits, also not fast enough. We're looking for about 20s, but Like I said, I was hyper focused on my grip, my presentation, and being successful with my 5 shots. So that's 5 out of 50 down. Now what I would do, since I have the accuracy, is try to push that time and see if I can get it done. My draw speed was 145, so 500ths faster than I needed it to be. However, my overall time was exactly 2.5, and my splits were 0.20, so exactly what I wanted. The difference is I paused, you probably heard it, because my second shot, I was tracking my sights, and I almost came outside the A zone. Keeping accountable for my accuracy, I slowed down, I drew the gun down a little too hard, and fired the rest of my shots, which all worked out. So like I said, I got the 2.5 in the A box, exactly what I wanted. So now it's up to me. Do I feel like I was comfortable there and I was able to make my shots and make on-the-fly corrections? Yeah, so I'd probably push it back, let's say to 10 yards this time, and see how that works out. So I'm 10 rounds into my 50. I'm back here at the 10-yard line. Once again, I'll take a little pressure off myself, really focus on a good presentation, a good grip, and getting all 5 shots in that A zone. I'm going to back down on the speed a little bit and guarantee my accuracy. Obviously, there are no guarantees in life. I squeezed too hard with that last shot on my support hand side and drove the round into the C zone. The other 4, I consider them successful upper A box, these 2 on the line. So now I might practice that again, or I could push my time a little bit. Overall time was 5 seconds, so double what I actually want. What I do is push my speed a little bit and try to maintain that accuracy. Let's go for like, I don't know, 3 seconds? 3. So there's an obvious difference between the 2 repetitions at 10 yards. My first one was about 5 seconds overall time, and I had 1 Charlie. My second one, like I said I wanted to cut it down, was a 319. That gave me a 169 draw time. Remember, my goal is 1.5, and splits of around 0.32 seconds. My goal is 0.2 seconds. That time I had 1, 2 line breakers. We're going to call that a miss. Now, if this was a real live fire training session for me, I would continue to stay at that 10 yards and try to push my accuracy and then go back to the speed. But for the purposes of this video, let me show you what failure looks like. Let's go to 15 yards. So not every day is going to be a good day. I'm obviously not performing quite to par today, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up. I'm going to go out here to 15 yards and try to put those rounds down, focusing on accuracy, presentation, and grip first, and then we'll worry about the time standard. Let's see what happens. All right, so that was a 644, 298 for the draw time, 7-8 splits. Not really great towards my time goal, but as you can see, my accuracy was right on point. All 5 rounds in the upper A box like I wanted them. So now, with my remaining 25 rounds, I'll stay at that 15-yard line and really push the speed and see what I can do. Helps if you count your rounds. So that was a 468. Kept 100% accountability for those A-zone shots. Now I've got a bunch of extra information, right? I can actually see how my real live presentations are coming out. Sometimes the sights are not perfect, so I know I need to do more presentations in my Dryfire. I can also see that under recoil, the gun's not behaving correctly, and that's because of the input that I'm giving it. So the grip is something else that I can work on Dryfire. Through the bulk of my budgeted allotment for the day of 50 rounds, I'm really going to start pushing myself. Now, if you pay attention to how the gun's reacting and how the gun feels in your hands and what's actually going on visually and tactilely, the real learning is. I'm going to push myself to that uncomfortable phase. I'm going to really try to put those 5 rounds in the target as fast as I can, and I'm going to try to keep that A-zone accuracy, and we'll see what happens. So remember, my goal was 15 yards from the holster, 2.5 seconds, 5 rounds in the A-zone. Not quite there yet, like I stated in the beginning, but I'm working on it. I'm going to push myself now, and let's see what failure really looks like. Somehow at this point I accidentally shut off my mic. It's new and I'm not quite used to the functions, but I'm sure you get the gist. Use Dryfire to focus on a foundation of good fundamentals and to find out if your goals are even realistic at this point in your shooting progression. Be consistent and honest in your self-analysis. Build those foundations which will lead to accuracy and efficiency, and eventually you'll be able to cut away at those time hacks. Don't dwell on a bad shot or even a bad range day. Use your range days to gather new insight as to your successes and failures, especially as it pertains to recoil mitigation. Stick to the process and you'll see some progress. Thanks for checking it out. These are the results of several skill-building strings of fire totaling 30 rounds, fired by 3 students of equal skill level. Assuming these targets are indicative of their individual approach to training sessions, who do you assume would progress faster given equal investments of time and effort? Student A with no discernible cluster, shots to left, right, top, and bottom, 7 A's, 2 C's, 2 D's, and 19 misses. Student B with 2 very discernible clusters, both to the center of the head and the upper thoracic A box. 27 A's, 3 C's, no D's, no misses. Student C's most discernible cluster is spread throughout the A box. 3 random headshots, 24 A's, 4 C's, 1 D, 1 miss. So tell me this, which student's approach to training is best for progression, and what advice would you have for each shooter?